Okay, so on page 62 then, we're now looking at the rural urban fringe. So what are the changes there? So in the CBD, the functions have changed, okay, but they're still experiencing troubles because a lot of people are, and businesses are moving out of the CBD. So where they move to, quite a few of them are moving to this area here. There's more space in the urban rural fringe. You can see all this green land. Land is cheaper, so if companies want to have a bigger area and cheaper rents and so on, they move out here. Okay, people are starting to move out here for bigger houses, nicer, greener environment, less pollution, and so on. All right. So let's see what changes have taken place. While cities were growing rapidly, okay, during the 1920s and 30s, it was referred to urban sprawl. All right, so cities were starting to sprawl out. They were growing in area and size. In an attempt to control urban growth, green belts were created. So what is a green belt? Very simple. A green belt was defined as an area of land around a city or urban area where the development of houses and other buildings was to be severely restricted, and where the open character of the countryside was to be preserved. Alright, so a green belt was essentially another layer around the outside of a city to try and control its growth, alright, to protect the environment and area for farming. Alright, so it's essentially protected land where you can't build. Alright. In reality, planners often came under considerable pressure to release land for more housing and roads. Okay, roads and housing are the big one. There's always debates about building roads going on. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at this. Where are we? By the end of the 20th century, so in the late 1990s, there was increasing competition for land at the rural urban fringe. The main reasons are that at the fringe there is A, cheaper land, B, less traffic congestion and pollution, easier access, a pleasanter environment, or more open space. So this area of our city has probably experienced the biggest change. Things were getting too cramped and too expensive in the CBD, so companies start to relocate out to the urban fringe. Alright, if you go to any major city now, you will find big business parks, okay, or big science parks where there's a lot of research going on, business parks with lots of shops and so on the edge of cities. These huge, big super malls and so on, alright, because there's more space. Again, these are our greenfield sites. We've talked about greenfield sites already, alright? These sites, still used for farming and recreation, are under constant threat for housing, science and business parks, alright? Retail parks, retail is shopping, and right down the bottom down here, the big one is road development schemes. Okay, it might seem simple, but building road networks takes up huge amounts of land and changes the landscape dramatically, alright? So that's what's happening out in the rural fringe. Okay, so our CBD has become pedestrianised, try and clean up the air and use the space effectively. A lot more covered shopping malls and so on, and they're starting to lose some shops as they move out to the rural fringe. The rural urban fringe has then experienced huge development, alright, as our cities change. Also then our inner cities we saw as being redeveloped because of all the rundown buildings. So we're going to go on to page 64 and then we're going to construct a quick diagram. Okay, so the last one then, suburbanized villages. Okay, so suburbs are always found on the outskirts or outsides of the city, right? In parts of the developed world, there has been a reversal of the movement to large urban areas, with groups of people moving out to the surrounding villages. Counter-urbanization. We've already written that down, right? Some are also known as commuter or dormitory settlements. So this is an interesting little phenomenon as well, as many of their residents have to travel to nearby towns and cities for work. So what's actually happening now is people are living on the edges of cities, alright, it's cheaper there, they have more space, it's less polluted, nice place to raise a family. But then they work in the city, so actually these little villages, they could have hundreds or thousands of homes, and in the morning everybody gets up, gets in the public transport, goes into the city for work. So between the hours of kind of 9 to 6, all of these houses are empty. And there was a big wave of crime a few years ago in England where a lot of thieves realised that all these whole neighbourhoods would empty during the day and they'd go in and rob everybody while they're at work. Okay, so it wasn't the best idea. That is the changes that have occurred. Okay, we moved from the centre to the outskirts of the city now. I'm just going to show you a little diagram. Okay, very easy to draw it nice and big and add all of the labels, and it should make sense once we go through it. Alright. Okay, so what we have here is my diagram. Now, what I suggest you do is maybe freeze the screen like this so you can note it down, because I'm going to start zooming on different portions of it. Okay, so that's the full diagram. I'm going to just look at this bit to start. Okay, so right in the middle we got our CBD, so you can draw that little circle. Okay, then around it, that's my city area, the urban area, inner city, so on. Okay, then the next one, I drew the next black line. Then urban rural fringe is that line. Okay, so it's where that line is where the city meets the countryside. Everything inside this black line is urban, everything outside is rural. Okay, included inside this large black circle is your suburbs, large houses, etc. All right, then what I've done is either side of this, all right, if I zoom out again, okay, you can see my two green belts. So that's essentially what they look like. There, it's a belt of green land or preserved, protected land around a city. Now, it usually goes the whole way around. I've just drawn as two belts either side. That says green belt, protected from development. It says it on both of them. All right. So that's to try and contain the city. Okay. Then, the first thing I've done is I have a number 1 up in the top right corner, moved for housing. Okay. I have number 1 moved for jobs, and another one over here move for education. Don't know why that's so blurry. Alright, so if we come out again, okay, if we look at it again here, you will see from those I've put arrows coming into the center in the city area and the CBD. So the first thing that happens, step 1, is people from outside the city or from everywhere, from different countries, all sorts of things, will move into this area. 1 for housing, for education, for jobs, for lots of reasons. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2, then I put in 3 number 2s with the blue lines. Okay, see the blue lines coming out, the dotted ones. When these people come along, then the city grows in size. Okay, I've added that up here. Number 2, city grows in size and area as people move there. So the second step is the city starts to expand. Okay, so then we got so that's number 2. That's why the green belts are then put in place to try and contain the city. Alright, number 3, then I've put some number 3s around here, and at the bottom counter urbanization is number 3. Okay, people and companies move out of the city centre for more space, cheaper land and better environment. So again, now you'll find right out on the edges, you'll find these big business parks, retail parks, large housing estates, all that kind of stuff. Alright, so as this happens, as that move out of the city occurs, okay, the city begins to get kind of run down, and you get all that inner city area with the kind of houses, the kind of factories, all old buildings, all that stuff is left kind of just rotting in the center. Okay, so then you get number 4, and I put 2 number 4s in here. Okay, number 4 is out here to the side. Okay, urban regeneration. Alright, empty lots or empty spaces in the city are renewed. So now what they're doing is governments are trying to get people to move back in. Okay, they're trying to improve the center of the city, build new, nicer, updated housing, bring services and stuff back in there. Alright, because with our counter urbanization, the city is starting to grow again. So they're trying to attract people back into the center of the cities. Okay, so that is our big diagram. I don't know if I'll get it all on the screen again. Alright, you can add that to your folder sheet under your keywords, and hopefully that explains how our cities are changing.